Hi everybody. We're going to start talking about the nervous system today. I like to start off by explaining neurons because neurons are the specialized cells that make up the nervous system. We have three. We have sensory neurons, I should say three types. We have interneurons and we have motor neurons. Okay, sensory neurons, by the name, it tells us that these are hooked up to our senses, like our ears, our nose, and skin, and so on. Motor neurons are attached to our muscles and some effector organs. And the interneurons, right? Inter means between. So they are between our sensory and motor neurons. They connect them. So the interneurons are found in our brain and spinal cord. And since our brain and spinal cord run down the center of our body, we call it our central nervous system. So the interneurons make up the central nervous system. Our sensory neurons and motor neurons, since they come off the central nervous system and are, I guess, off to the side, they are make up the peripheral nervous system. And the way you can remember that is peripheral vision is how far off the side you could see. So the peripheral nervous system comes off the central nervous system and it's made up of your sensory and motor neurons. So the sensory neurons are responsible for picking up stimuli from our environment. Stimuli could be in the form of light. If it becomes bright, our pupils will get smaller to allow less light in. If it becomes dark, they'll open up to allow more light in. If it could be sound, it could be cold, it could be pain. All of these things are considered stimuli. And then when a sensory organ picks up a sensory neuron pick up a stimuli, an impulse will travel down that sensory neuron through an interneuron and then to a motor neuron, and the motor neuron is going to make something happen. And they are called effectors, right? And that would be your muscle, or it could be an effector organ, depending what's going on. So the sensory neurons pick up stimuli, the motor neuron sends impulses or to effectors or muscles, things like that, to make things happen. So let's take a look and see what happens or how this is set up. So this is what this blue cell is our sensory neuron. The yellow one here is our interneuron, and this red one makes up the motor neuron. So the cell. Take a look at the cell bodies here, right? The sensory neuron cell body is pretty unique compared to the motor neuron and interneuron, but the cell body is where all the organelles are. Okay, this is where you would have your nucleus, mitochondrium, ribosomes, all the organelles are found here. The axon is the blue line here, and over here it's this yellow, and over here it's the red. The gray swollen areas here, these are specialized cells that are wrapped around the axon, right? The red line here is the axon, the blue line is the axon here. So the gray structures around the axon are called Schwann cells. And these help speed up the impulse, the message that's being transmitted. So if we take a look at this to see what would happen, let's say there was a thumbtack, a push pin, and it pricks the person's finger here, and impulse is going to travel down, go through the axon. The Schwann cell helps it go even faster, and it's going to go to the spinal cord where the interneurons are found, and then it's going to go to a motor neuron, and then it's going to go back out of the spinal cord to the muscles of your finger, and over here, this part here is called your terminal branches, oops, terminal branches. And here, at the end here, you're going to have an effector, which would be, in this case, your muscle. I'll make that the muscle, to move your finger. Okay? So what I want you to get out of this picture right now are the different parts of the neuron. So these receptor endings, these are what we call dendrites. Dendrites receive a stimuli or stimulus. Okay, and then you have dendrites here. Okay, and dendrites here. So these are the dendrites for the three neurons. We have terminal branches, right? The terminal branches are, like I said before, are at the end. Terminal branches. And here are your terminal branches of your motor neuron, of your interneuron, and over here, your cell body. Now this dendrite here is referring to the yellow cell. When you see here, this dendrite. At the end of the terminal branches, you have synaptic knobs. And the synaptic knobs have a neurotransmitter inside. So what happens here is, back to the thumbtack, right? The push pin. If an impulse comes through, the impulse is going to travel down the cell, hit the terminal branches. The synaptic knobs are going to open up, release a neurotransmitter, which is a chemical. It's going to hit the dendrites of the cell. When the dendrites of the interneuron feel the neurotransmitter, it starts a new impulse or a new message that goes down here, goes to the terminal branches here, the synaptic knob opens up, sends another neurotransmitter. The dendrites of the motor neuron pick up that there was a neurotransmitter, a new impulse is generated and goes down to the end. And then if the muscle was down here, the synaptic knobs open and the the neurotransmitter is released, causing the muscle to contract. Okay? So what I want you to do is, if you need to, replay the video using the Cornell notes. Take notes on the parts of the cell, parts of the neuron that I spoke about, and we'll talk about it again in class.